Welcome to the Anti-Hustle Business Podcast. I am your host, Shannon Whaley, and I'm here to help coaches, consultants, and service providers like you build profitable, sustainable online businesses without the hustle or the burnout that's so prevalent in the online space. I am here to show you that there is a totally different way to do business that doesn't leave you burnt the fuck out and hating your life. It's time to ditch the hustle culture and embrace a new way of doing business. So get ready to redefine success on your terms and build a thriving anti-hustle based business where you have more money, more naps, more travel, more freedom, more whatever the fuck you want in your life. So buckle up and let's dive in. Hi, friends. Welcome back to the podcast. It has been a couple of weeks and I'm getting back on the wagon of recording. So I recorded an episode and then I fucking hated it and I deleted it and just never got back to it. So I revamped the rest of this season and I actually am incorporating some real live coaching, mentor coaching that I did with the cohort that I am working with right now. So I have two women one woman is applying for her ACC credential and another one is going for her renewal. And so I'm using some of the things that we talked about in our sessions that we've had to share with you. And I have some fresh ideas and topics for coaching, which I think is what I really needed versus just trying to kind of dream shit up because my business has changed so much over this last year and I'm not working with my own clients per se, but I am working as a contractor and I'm coaching lawyers. And so it's a very different demographic. Obviously, I'm teaching them business and marketing and teaching them how to build their businesses, but in terms of coaches and mentor coaching, that's a very different conversation. So today I am going to talk to you about how to coach around intangible goals. And so this is the episode around mentor coaching, but this is also actually going to tie into business stuff as well, because when your clients or potential clients are coming to you and they want to feel more confident, they want to feel sexier and they want to feel alive and they want to learn how to trust themselves. How are you talking about that? How are you going to, one, coach them around intangible goals? And two, how are you going to actually talk about this online? So I'm going to pepper in some business stuff. And then maybe for the next episode, I will specifically talk around and go deeper into the business piece of this because it's so important. This is where a lot of people get stuck because I'm a business coach. I can say you are going to walk away with X, Y, and Z. You're going to walk away with a marketing calendar and a new program that you've built out, right? So there's like tangible things that I can tell you that you're going to walk away from Anti-Hustle Business School with. Now, when I talk to you about feeling more confident as a coach and feeling more secure in your coaching skills, now those are more intangible results that I need to know how to talk about. This is something that's really important, not just in your marketing, but especially in your coaching sessions, because you need to know how to turn vague, essentially, desires into something that your client can actually experience and move toward and know that they're hitting and accomplishing those goals. And so the reason that intangible goals feel hard to coach around is because they're subjective, they're more emotional, they're more being based, they're typically undefined. And a lot of people aren't coming to the coaching call saying, I want to feel more confident. And I'll know that I feel more confident because I'll do X, Y, and Z. I'll have this, this, this. I'll be showing up like this. That's your job as the coach, which is to help them define what that means. And so if you don't clarify what these feelings are, what this being is, it stays really abstract. And you can go around in circles because you don't know where you're going. As coaches, we need to know where the client is and where they want to be, and we help them bridge that gap, right? And oftentimes, what we need to do is we have to invite them to go deeper and define what that is, because we as coaches need to know, where am I going at the end of this session? But then where are we also going at the end of the contract, whether it's 3 months or 6 months? How do we know that we've accomplished more confidence? This is the core part of your coaching. And you're basically translating more confidence into something tangible. Some questions that you can ask them would be, what does confidence look like to you? Tell me, when you are feeling more confident, tell me what that means to you. You're basically, and don't be afraid to spend a lot of time on this, because we really want to design this. We want the client to design this for them. This is where we are guiding. This is where we are inviting them to paint this picture for themselves. So, what does confidence look like? Tell me what that looks like. Tell me how you're showing up in the world. Remember too, don't rapid fire these questions. Ask these questions one at a time. And then based on what they're telling you, then you can just ask more questions about that. Oh, so maybe that leads into work. Okay, great. Tell me, what changes in your work environment when you're feeling confident? And you can say, anything else around the work part of your life? What about the personal part? What about relationships? How are you showing up in the world? Again, just really think about, and don't be scared to stay here. I know that, and I say this, and I know I just said that, but this is really important, because one thing that I've seen as I'm coaching newer coaches is that when you are looking at the core competencies, it's really hard not to take those very literally. And the way that I work with my mentor coaching clients, even if you're an ACC coach, I still use the PCC markers, because that's ultimately what we're going for. ACC is very basic. It's very cut and dry, and PCC coaching allows coaches to it invites them to use more of their intuition. It invites them to advance their coaching skills. So, not being afraid to get in there with your client is a more advanced coaching skill. If you had them name off just a couple of things and then you moved into the next thing and you're like, all right, let's go into your coaching request, that would be an ACC level coach to me. A PCC level coach would be someone who really gets into this. This is exciting. Let's really talk about this here for a minute. What changes in your life? How are you dressing? You are just painting and helping them paint this really beautiful picture. And then maybe there's some visioning work that they're doing, or maybe there's an invitation to do a vision board of who they imagine as they're stepping into this next version of themselves, that this confidence they're exuding. And depending on how the relationship that you're building, how is this coming off in your dating life? How is this coming off in your relationship with your partner? What's changing in the bedroom, right? Really lock this in. How can we help them feel these feelings, feel this confidence viscerally? That is a PCC level coach. Okay. So that's how I work with my clients, because I want to help elevate everyone. Even if you're just going to stay at the ACC level, I have clients who have their ACC and they don't want to move into PCC, but let's still help you coach at a PCC level. You don't have to move into and submit all the calls and do all of that and take the test again. But let's move you into this next higher level of coaching, because it's only going to serve you better. Sometimes the request is that I want to feel sexier. Okay, so how do you carry yourself? If you imagine, and don't be afraid to just get into this with them. Okay, so close your eyes and you're just like feeling your sexiest self. What are you wearing right now? If you think about your highest, like most sexy self, and what are you doing differently? How are you showing up differently? Are you wearing different clothes? Are you wearing lipstick, or maybe you've cut your hair? What is changed? How are you stepping into this next level of you? Where does this show up? So dive in there really. And also ask the questions that your intuition is screaming at you to ask. This is also a PCC level marker where you listen to those questions that might feel uncomfortable, that might feel really, sometimes they can feel higher gradient, they can feel confrontational, they can feel uncomfortable, but you can just say, my intuition is nudging me to ask you about this. If you want to have an out, right? And then if they're talking about self-trust, which is a really big thing that I coach my clients around. So when you trust yourself, what kinds of decisions are you making? How fast are you making decisions when you trust yourself? Are you sitting on them? Where in your body is your intuition landing so that you can build this trust within your body? So there's a somatic component to this. What are you no longer outsourcing? Maybe you're done asking everybody on the internet for their advice and you're done outsourcing all of the answers and you're ready to trust yourself. That's a huge piece, a huge piece. This is an opportunity for you to really shine as a coach where you are asking deeper questions. These are not super surface level questions. These are questions, you're staying present with your client, you're going with what they're saying. These are not questions that you're going to find on a list or a PDF. I've talked about that this season. That PDF of all of the powerful questions, right? It's not you being super present with your client. The powerful questions are when you are tapped in and listening and you're not afraid to go deeper. You're not afraid to slow things down. You're not afraid to get vulnerable and say, hey, my intuition is really screaming at me right now. And this feels like a very direct question, and I'm a little uncomfortable asking it. Permission to share with you. These are ways that you can start moving into a higher level or a different level of coaching with your client.
Want to break free from the hustle and grind and build a successful business? I've helped thousands of clients and students leave their 9 to 5 jobs, travel the world, land their first client, close 5-figure sales in the DMs, and grow their businesses to 6 and 7 figures. Want to know more? Visit antihustlebiz.com and transform your life and business the anti-hustle way. Okay, back to the show.
So let's talk about how to move out of vague language and more into specific, tangible things. I want to give you some questions that you can ask. If you want to write these down, you can pause it. When you say confidence, what does that mean to you specifically? And then let them share. How would you recognize that you're feeling confident in a real moment, or when you're at work, or when you are dating? How would you recognize that you're feeling confident? And whether you're using AI to transcribe or you are taking notes, make sure that you have these down, because this is basically, they're literally telling you how they're going to know when they've reached this moment. And this is what you're coaching towards. So you can make it visible too. How are we going to see this? If I watched a video of you being confident, what would I see? What would you be doing differently than you're doing now? That is such a powerful question. This is how you help them bridge the gap. Maybe something you can say too is, how are you already showing up in your life as that person? Do you recognize maybe places where you're already showing up as that confident self? Where in your life do you most want this to show up? Are we really focusing on work stuff? Are we focusing on the bedroom? Are we focusing on your relationships with your friends? What situation would immediately tell you this has shifted? Oof. How will you know? Do you see how different this is than maybe how you're doing it or what you've seen? Where it's, I want to feel more confident. Okay, cool. Let's get started. We don't have any way to substantiate this. And part of coaching is that when we're done with the contract, we can say, these were your goals, tangible and intangible, and these are the things that you did to hit those goals. These are the things that you're paying attention to. And you can even say, I want to invite you for the next week, just pay attention to, this is how you say you want to show up at work, and just take a mental log. And maybe you want to do a little check mark on a Post-it note or something, or on your phone, when you recognize that you spoke up instead of abandoning yourself. Doesn't have to be a big deal. It doesn't have to, you don't have to say anything to anybody. But if you recognize that you actually said something, if someone made a joke that you didn't like, or if someone said, oh, let's go get Chinese food, and you'd be like, I don't really want to go to Chinese food, but I guess so, okay. And you're like, actually, I would really prefer to go to Indian food. And if that's not something that you're used to doing, put a check mark. And this is how you start to tally, and you start to pay attention to how this is starting to show up in your life. So this is something that you can offer your client, is invite them to pay attention to what they're doing throughout the week. You can have them start to explore, when do you already feel a version of this? What's different about you in those moments? Now, I don't want you writing these down and thinking, oh, these are powerful questions, I got to ask these, but I just want to offer you these so that you can see the difference maybe between the questions that you are asking. And I also want you to see that these are not questions that are on a powerful question sheet. One thing that you really want to be doing is you want to be building specific outcomes. So what would feel like a meaningful shift by the end of our time together? Now that could be per session, every session, this could be a question that you ask, or make sure that's also a question that you're asking to set the container and to understand what their goals are. And I would say do a mid-contract check-in. Let's say if it's a 6-month coaching contract, 3 months in, set aside 30 minutes and say, I just want to do a mid-contract check-in. If we need to recalibrate, I want to make sure that you're getting what you need. And I want to make sure that we're on the right track, because things can change in 90 days. And so maybe that's what you ask. So what would you feel like a meaningful shift by the end of our time together? Mid-contract check-in. Hey, so this is what you said. Does that still feel true, or have things shifted? How will you know this work is working? Oof. This is how we also put the responsibility in their lap. We are not responsible for their results. We want to make sure that we're putting this responsibility on them. So how will you know this work is working? How will you know that you're getting what you need? And this is also how we invite them to tell us, I'm not actually getting what we need. So you need to be open to hearing that feedback. Sometimes it's as criticism, sometimes it's an invitation, right? But we really want to make sure that we're giving our clients an opportunity to give us that feedback, and then we can course correct. right? If you get to the end of the 6 months, I'm like, I didn't get what I needed. And I'm like, why didn't you fucking say anything? It's also my responsibility to invite those conversations because clients, they might not have the confidence to say anything. So we need to come to them with that. Hey, I just want to make sure. And it's that invitation for them. It gives them an opportunity to speak up. Actually, I'm not getting what I need. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's talk about this. Like, let's really get to the bottom of this so that we spend the next 90 days really making sure that you nail this, that we nail this together, okay? Don't forget to include the embodiment and the identity work that comes with being-based requests. So who are you being when you feel this way? Who are you being when you're feeling sexy, when you're feeling confident? What are you no longer doing when this is fully online, when this has come to fruition? So what are you doing and what are you not doing anymore? And then what do you need to fucking knock off now? If you're not doing X, Y, and Z, if you're feeling this, great. How do we start not doing that now? These questions, this way of questioning, this way of thinking is really going to help build a better coaching relationship and get your clients better results. Because when the clients get specific, they know where they're going, they take clearer action, they recognize their progress faster, they're building evidence. So you want to check in with them on a weekly basis during your calls. How did you do? Update me on what you've noticed. Take notes. They trust themselves more. They start seeing this is where when people have intangible desires and goals, that if they're not broken down in this way, it's not defined. So they don't know where they're going. So this is literally why they're hiring you as their coach to help them define this. And now they can stop guessing. They have direction. Even this list feels more confident. And it starts creating this awareness around who they are, who they're being, how they're showing up. And it's brilliant. So if you skip this step, if you don't slow down and you don't get these tangible results connected to their intangible desires, the sessions are just going to feel like you're shooting in the dark. The clients you might notice that they're not actually moving forward, that they're coming to the session with the same complaints or the same feelings, like the needle isn't moving, basically. And things can feel like they're spinning. You're like, didn't we just fucking talk about this? I thought that, and you want to make sure that you have things to come back to. How did you notice you were more confident last week? What were some of the things that you saw? And how are you feeling this week? You can do, so there's different, like the wheel of life chart where they can gauge, right? Maybe you create something where they're doing a confidence meter or something every week. And we're painted like, how was your confidence meter this week? And maybe they do it daily or maybe they do it weekly, whatever. This is how they are going to feel they got what they needed, not just from the call, but from the entire contract. This is how they're going to feel they got results. Because there's so many coaches who aren't business coaches, obviously, who don't have strategy, like you're coaching around emotional stuff. And so this is so incredibly important for you to make sure that you're really nailing this and that you're helping your clients track this so that they can see how far they've come. So make sure you're tracking this in your notes. Make sure that they're paying attention. One thing that I really love to do is I take notes of my clients' brags and celebrations so that by the end of the contract, I can say, you did X, Y, and Z. Here are some of the really big things that you did during our time together. And so many times I've been like, oh my God, I totally forgot that happened. That was so cool. I can't believe that I forgot that. And it's, yeah. And this is also really good to have during the renewal conversation, because you can say during our time together, here are some of the really big highlights. And then this is what I see for us moving forward. If you want to continue working together, this is what I see available for you. And so that can be part of your renewal process, but you need to have those notes so that you can do that. I realize I didn't talk about anything business. I will do that actually in the next episode because this ended up being very coachy and not businessy. So stick around, make sure that you come back for next week's episode where I will talk about how to talk about the intangible results in your marketing so that you can sell the shit out of your program and get hired and make money and change lives and run the six-figure business that you want to be running. Okay, friends, thank you for being here. If you want to have a conversation about how I work with my clients, whether it's mentor coaching, business school, or one-on-one, just drop me a message on Instagram. You can also check the show notes for my anti-hustle business checklist. And you can go to antihustlebiz.com where you will get all of the information for all of the things. So thank you for being here, and I appreciate you. Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Anti Hustle Business Podcast. I hope you found inspiration in the message and that you got some actionable next steps that you can implement right away in your business to start seeing results and moving the needle. Remember, you don't have to sacrifice your well being or your mental health to achieve success. So, prioritize your pleasure, play, and rest while you build your business around your life. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your feedback helps me reach more entrepreneurs like you who want to do business in a completely new way. For more resources and to connect with my community, please visit my website at antihustlebiz.com and follow me on Instagram at @TheShannonWayne. Until next time, keep taking those strategic anti-hustle steps toward building the business and life that you love. Take care.